Making our way through the Masters of the Universe Clash for Eternia board game. We're looking at some of the Mission Tactica open play. One of the things that I really enjoy about this game, and I've pushed that up to the board gaming playlist, a review, is that we've got two layers going on. We've got the mission, but then depending on the controller and the players, you can play the good guys or the bad guys. And the good guys and the bad guys are, of course, a matter of perspective. But this kind of mix and match of not only different characters that you can play, but the different sides, that adds two additional layers of Tactica over each of the missions. So before we can begin to explore the missions, we got to kind of look at some of the characters that we're playing. And I feel like there's two ways to approach this. Both are correct. Both are okay for open play, but a little bit depends on where you want to take the game. Understanding that at its core, Clash for Eternia is a skirmish-based game. Now, the first way, of course, would be to agree on the mission. Hey, we're going to play Buried Secrets, and that's what we're going to be exploring in this specific Tactica. And then we build out on our teams. Do you want to be the controller? Do you want to be the player? Pick your sides, pick your Masters of the Universe, your heroic warriors, and play the game. Another way to play it, and a little bit of this is kind of the wargaming Tactica in me, sometimes we like to decide who's going to be the controller, who's going to be the players, and it could be multiple players or one player playing multiple characters. Then you draft your team if it's open play. Then you draw from the open missions. And what we see here, of course, is some characters are better suited for the missions than others. So we've got multiple layers. But at its core, understanding within that framework, the Tactica for each mission. So in this mission, we have 5 objectives. This idea of buried secrets, ancient scrolls revealing secrets of power flow through Eternia. They've been discovered throughout the diverse biomes of Eternia. Retrieve them and uncover their knowledge. So Skeletor is looking to obtain them. He-Man is looking to obtain them. The scenario is you have these 5 objectives, and the players need to claim these objectives. They need to get within 1 hex next to the objective or on top of it, have no other monsters or minions or opposing team members contesting that objective, and spend an action to grab it. You grab all 5 objectives and you win. And they're scattered out, kind of radiating from the center. So you've got 1 on the top, 1 on the left, 1 on the right, and a second one loading up on the left. So one side of the board has 2 objectives. Then we've got 2 on the right side and 1 at the top. The victory conditions and how they escalate are where things get very interesting. The victory conditions for the controller are that you need to knock out 4 opposing characters. And the victory conditions for the players are they need to claim 4 objectives. So we've got 4 and 4. Escalation triggers when a character is knocked out, the track goes by 1. And when an objective is claimed, the track goes by 1. So the first thing we see as the controller, Tactica, whether I'm playing Skeletor and Friends or He-Man, the characters are kind of expendable. I can afford to be a little bit more aggressive than normal because, yes, if I got knocked out, I'm going to respawn, and there are different respawn points, but I'm not going to be penalized for that. So I can be a lot more aggressive, especially if I'm picking some of the heroes or villains that I can overdrive, I can boost, I can take additional wounds to have them do more actions or boost dice. I can be more aggressive because I should almost be more aggressive in this mission because it's not going to affect my victory conditions. When I'm playing as the player, the other side, I have to be a little bit more conservative. And essentially, I'm on a forced timer. What I mean by that is a forced timer is the 4 heroes that I'm playing, or whatever number of heroes that I'm playing. Let's just say we're playing 4 players, or I'm playing all 4. Add up all the wounds. That is all I have. And every turn, I'm going to be getting weaker and weaker because I'm going to try to avoid some combat because I want to grab those scrolls. But combat is an important part of the game. I'm going to be taking losses, and every time I get knocked out, that is a victory condition. So the first thing that I'm faced with, depending on the game and the scenario and where we are, as I fight, if one of my characters get wounded significantly, I might have to run away. I have to kind of do an area denial, and rather than getting killed and knocked out, I might need to run away. Balanced to that, of course, is the 4 spawn points for the player are this cave system in the center. If I do get knocked out, at least I come back, and then immediately I can radiate out towards the objectives. So in terms of those objectives as a player, what I'm looking to do is select characters, if we're doing the draw, knowing the mission ahead of time. Speed, Stratos, auto-include right there. Orko, as much as he's kind of hit or miss with his magic, I say hit or miss because there's a randomness to Orko. I mean, it fits the narrative in that I get the base magic attacks, but I can jack it up and possibly take more damage if I can put out more damage. You have to know when to boost or when not to boost. I say take Orko not for the magic damage, but for his ability to teleport. That's really, really important. So in this mission, because I don't want to get knocked out, I'm going to pull back on the actual damage, but I'm going to use his teleport ability. Then as we escalate, when I get into, I believe it's the red, he has the counter magic, which is going to be really important for countering any of the plays that the controller potentially does. So Orko is going to look to grab something, then essentially run around and counter magic as we move. The rest of the characters, in many ways, I consider Tila an auto-include, simply because she can spawn the elite royal guards, and you get more miniatures on the table. Miniatures that in this mission, because it says player character, that are expendable. And on a side note, Tila versus Beastman, the ability to spawn miniatures, or spawn units, I should say, in any type of skirmish game, massive. I want to do that. Now, you're spending some resources, not necessarily attacking, but you're spending some resources to summon these and, of course, activate them, which means you're not really moving and attacking. You might attack and activate or move and activate, but to get 2 more on the table, that's big, especially in this mission where it's not going to penalize me for losses. I think Tila is an auto-include. Filling out the last on the team, I mean, you really can't go wrong playing He-Man. The game is kind of designed He-Man Skeletor as always playing, but I tend to want to take Man-at-Arms simply because I've got some ranged attacks where I can try to deal some damage from a distance. So I've got my team. In terms of the controller, it's not so much the team, it's the tactics. Although I will say, Beastman, yes, because I want to kind of summon from that perspective. If you want to load up on Magic, Skeletor, Evelyn, if you want to kind of go more ranged, maybe I'll do the Trapjaw, Triclops type scenario. But what I'm looking to do really with this game is the minions that I can control, the robot minions, and area denial. What I'm going to look to do is, as best I can, remember, I just have to kill 4. I'm going to camp on 2 objectives. I'm going to look to fortify 2 objectives, preferably with some ranged characters. I'm going to have Beastman, who's going to spawn the 2 Shadow Beasts, and I'm just going to camp on those objectives. That's where we're going to utilize. The other objectives I'm going to use to send my minions out to try and gang up on 1 character. So tactically, what we're looking at, I want to kind of camp. There's an objective up in the left-hand corner with a carnivorous plant that will just make random attacks when you enter or leave that space. I guess it's trying to bite you or eat you. If I camp there and it hangs out, then I'm not taking any attacks. I like to throw Beastman up there, spawn some Shadow Beasts, maybe put Trapjaw, and he's just going to blast away, do 2 attacks, burn that special for additional damage, utilize that. If I do the Evelyn, Skeletor, they might also camp there. There's also an objective where we have, on the lower left, it's kind of on a hill. I'll want to camp there. The 2 objectives on the right, they're on a hill and they're in a forest. Honestly, if I'm the controller, I'm really not going to go for these. I'm really not. I don't want to. This is kind of like an attack versus defense type scenario. I want to be more defensive as the controller. I will let the opponent have those. The minions, I want to start moving them. You start with 6 minions. I want to start moving them, and I want to move them north to that kind of cave system where there's 2 boulders blocking the entrance. That's important because the boulders need to burn a resource to be able to pick it up and throw. And if you throw, it dazes you. It's no big deal. But you have to stop there. Those are anchor points. You have to stop at that entrance and use an action to activate the boulder. If I can pile on minions on there, that's going to slow you down when you stop. That's where you're going to enter. That's where I'm going to look to attack and try to gang up on one. So if I can kill one character up at that north point and then castle up on the other 2, or even castle up on the one, then it becomes just a massive battle free-for-all. Now, what I have to watch out for, of course, is as things escalate, target priorities. Stuff like Stratos with his bomb run, Man-at-Arms throwing the grenade. There are some different area attacks that the various factions have. If I castle up, that is going to absolutely hurt me. That's going to just play into their hands. I don't really think I can do too much about that, but that's the strategy that I would adapt. Area denial, go on to 2 areas, take your minions, push them into one other area, and try to take out one character on the way, and then really castle defense and come and get it. The other tactica that I've tried as the player, of course, taking fast units, I have tried as the controller, both playing He-Man or Skeletor factions. I've tried kind of breaking things up into little war bands and sending them out, essentially taking all the minions, send them towards one character. Then my 3 others that I can control, send them out, of course, to engage the other players. This kind of works so-so. I can be a little bit more aggressive because losing a character for me is no big deal. But the idea of doing that puts it just too much. If I get taken out first, order of activation is huge in this game, then I'm put in an interesting spot. For this mission, I would rather area denial, castle up, try to take out and use the minions, use reserves, use strategies, get the summons up, and just really make those players, really make those heroes work for it.